When I hear the phrase, the King of Israel, I think of Jesus. Palm Sunday comes to mind, and a hymn you all know. All glory, laud, and honor to thee, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children make glad hosannas ring. Thou art the King of Israel. We sing that walking into church, waving palm branches over our heads and shouting that Jesus is the true and only King of Israel. Good times, you know? It's good times. Then the procession ends. And the singing ends. And the collect comes. And anyone paying attention to the collect on Palm Sunday will suffer emotional whiplash. Almighty God, whose most dear Son went not up to joy before he suffered pain, and entered not into glory before he was crucified, mercifully grant that we, walking in the way of the cross, may find it none other than the way of life and peace. As a 6th century hymn says, included in both our 1940 hymnal and now in our hymnal 1982, God is reigning from the tree. The King of Israel has taken as his throne the cross. Do not think that the King of Israel reigns from a golden penthouse. Do not think his power is in force and deception and cunning. The King of Israel reigns from the cross. He died at the hands of an oppressive government. He was betrayed by religious leaders bent on self-preservation. And he reigns triumphant from the tree. On Wednesday, the President of the United States said that he is the King of Israel. And to quote him, the second coming of God. The only second coming the tradition knows is the second coming of Jesus. In just minutes in the Creed, we will proclaim that Jesus will indeed come again, but he will come a wounded Lord. The King of Israel, wounded by a desperate government, beaten and scarred by religious leadership hell-bent on legalities rather than mercy. Hear again the words from the Gospel of Luke. The leader of the synagogue, indignant that Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath day." And Jesus said, "You hypocrites, does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" Mercy is Jesus' power. Not legalities, but mercy. Earlier on Wednesday, even before he declared himself the King of Israel and the second coming, the President of the United States looked heavenward and said that he was the chosen one. Now, by Friday, he pedaled back and said he was just being sarcastic. But sarcastic or not, it is remarkable that 3 times in 3 hours the president said that he is Jesus. The chosen one. The chosen one. I couldn't help but think of Jesus' transfiguration. In Luke's telling of the story, a voice came from heaven. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my Son, my chosen one. Listen to him." When the president said that he is the chosen one, I couldn't help but think of Peter, James, and John looking heavenward to see where the voice was coming from. In the same way, the president looked heavenward as he proclaimed himself the chosen one. And I thought of what happened next in Jesus' story, and of what had happened just before the transfiguration. Just before Jesus led his disciples up the Mount of the Transfiguration, up the mount where God would reveal Jesus to be the chosen one, Jesus told his disciples that his life would end with him being brutally murdered. And after they had come down from the mountain, down from where God declared him the chosen one, Jesus told his disciples again that his life would end with him being brutally murdered. There is no missing the sad truth that Jesus wants us to know. Jesus will not let his disciples imagine that being God's chosen one is about golden penthouses and an easy life. Jesus needs his disciples to know that being God's chosen one inevitably means suffering. And in his case, suffering at the hands of a desperate government and a religious leadership hell-bent on legalities, even if they stand in the way of mercy. The chosen one suffers. The King of Israel reigns from a cross. The second coming will reveal a Jesus who bears in his bodies the scar of what we did to him in our frenzy for power and our lack of love. It is our duty as Christians to declare who Jesus truly is. He is not a fictional character we can remake to suit our goals. His gospel is not a collection of easy slogans and religious kitsch we can use for our political gain. Jesus is the King who reigns nailed to a cross. He is the second coming who will return to us pierced and beaten because we pierced and beat him. He is the chosen one who suffered the same plight as the rejected and despised ones, the least of his sisters and brothers. And Jesus is the kind and merciful Savior who wants us to understand that if we think any godly law means treating human beings with less mercy than we treat our animals, we have failed to understand God's love at all.